Welcome. This video is to demonstrate the installation for the 600 series aluminum stacking door. Start by unpacking your frame kit. Each kit should have a head assembly, a threshold, 2 jamb assemblies, and a screw package. There will also be an optional premium handle hardware package if ordered. Begin by inspecting the rough opening carefully to ensure it has been properly prepared to accept the configuration and size you are installing. Then, check the floor to see that it is flat and level. If the floor varies more than 1/16 of an inch per foot or a total of 1/4 inch over the entire width of the opening, it must be corrected before proceeding. For this video, a flexible membrane sill pan will be used. An alternative sill pan option is to use a rigid sill pan. If the floor is concrete, a waterproofing membrane must separate the aluminum from the concrete. If it is a wood substrate, it must be protected with the appropriate flashing or waterproofing material prior to door frame installation. It is recommended that a sill pan is installed prior to the installation of the door. It is important to note that the sill pan will direct incidental water that may run over the threshold towards the exterior of the door, and will also provide a barrier between dissimilar materials to avoid electrolysis. Next, locate the threshold and remove the sill protector strips. Determine the top inside of the threshold assembly by holes in the weather strip panel. Position the threshold on the floor in the approximate location and make sure the inside edge of the threshold is properly aligned with the structure. Inspect the threshold assembly where it meets the surface of the floor. Check for and mark any gaps that will need to be filled or shimmed prior to final anchoring. The final installation must result in the threshold being level and supported continuously for proper operation. Once you are satisfied that the threshold assembly is in the correct location, carefully inspect the header above to confirm that the head assembly can be installed directly above it at the proper height. Mark the inside edge full length and across each end sufficient to locate the inside corners. There are installation holes in the weather strip channel of each additional track that align with the countersunk holes. Beginning with the holes in the inside track, mark the floor through each hole. Remove the threshold assembly from the opening. If the floor condition is concrete, drill 1/4 inch installation holes at each marked location, approximately 2 inches deep, and insert one of the green plastic anchor plugs supplied. After that, apply a 1/2 inch wide by 1/2 inch high bead of sealant on the floor along the exterior side of the mark, from jamb to jamb and from the inside corners across the end to the outside edge of where the threshold assembly will be. Continue the sealant a minimum of 6 inches up the rough framing where the jambs will be installed. Inspect the sealant carefully to ensure a complete water barrier has been accomplished across the full width of the opening. If the floor is wood with flashing or waterproofing, apply a generous amount of the appropriate sealant at each mark where the installation screws will penetrate the flashing. Using the marks on the floor, set the threshold assembly back in place. Shim as required and proceed with anchoring. Use number 10 2.5 inch flathead screws in the weather strip channels. Inspect the opening header to confirm that it is ready to receive the door head assembly and that there is sufficient backing for anchoring. Based on the net frame height shown on the shop drawings, determine if additional material needs to be added to the header to minimize shimming. Using a level, locate a number of screw points onto the structure above so that the head assembly is directly positioned above the threshold assembly. Carefully raise the head assembly into position and temporarily anchor using number 10 2.5 inch flathead screws through the pre-drilled hole to hold it safely while the jambs are installed. Seal the pre-drilled holes in the threshold end plates using sealant. Raise or lower the head to align the holes in the jamb with the holes in the end plates and anchor using number 12 3/4 inch and number 12 1 1/4 inch flathead countersunk screws. Shim the lock jambs as required to ensure they will plumb and anchor to the structure through the additional holes using number 10 2.5 inch flathead screws. Complete the jamb assembly by placing the jamb filler into the jamb. Use a wood or plastic block and non-marring mallet to tap it into place. Complete the anchoring of the head assembly to ensure that it is flat, level, and parallel with the threshold. Depending on what market you serve, you may have purchased either a 1 inch or an 1 3/8" stucco return. The intended use of the stucco return is to provide both an aid in the installation process and to create a solid return for stucco applications with a 2x6 wall substrate. The stucco return will be factory applied and sealed to the head and jambs only. Next, inspect the frame to ensure the head and jambs have the proper factory-applied stucco return. It's critical to note that the stucco return should not be considered the primary anchoring point for the perimeter frame of the door. The perimeter frame must be anchored as shown in the block frame installation. Prior to installing the door frame in the opening, an AMA-approved membrane must be applied in a weatherboard fashion. Apply a 1/2 inch nominal continuous bead of sealant to the back of the nail fin. Additional fasteners must be used to secure the nail fin to the stud face. Corrosion-resistant fasteners should be used to secure the frame to the stud face and placed every 10 to 16 inches around the perimeter of the frame. Be certain not to apply a fastener within 3 inches of any frame corner. Seal the back side of the applied corner sections at the top of each jamb, extending a minimum of 3 inches in each direction. After the corner section is in place, apply sealant over the top and tool sealant over all edges to ensure proper weatherproofing. Now apply a nominal continuous 1/2 inch bead of sealant over the fasteners on the header nail fin. Then apply membrane over the nail fin, pressing it firmly into the sealant in a weatherboard fashion. Reference the diagram in the stucco return section of your installation instructions for more detailed information. Begin by locating and removing the black foam blocks from the head channels. The blocks are approximately 1 inch by 1 3/4 inch, and there will be one in each channel. Set them aside temporarily as they will be reinstalled when the panel installation is complete. Each panel will have a sticker identifying it as the lead panel, intermediate panel, or fixed panel. Locate the lead panel. From the exterior, insert the top of the panel into the extreme interior head track and then lower it onto the threshold. Then, from the interior, lift the weight off the roller housing. Use a medium-sized Phillips screwdriver and adjust the rollers so that there is a gap of approximately 3/8 inch from the bottom of the stile to the top surface of the threshold. Roll the panel towards the lock jamb to view the vertical gap between the panel and jamb. Make final roller adjustments so the gap is consistent from top to bottom. Locate the intermediate panel. From the exterior, with a portion of the panel overlapping the lead panel, insert the top into the next head track and lower into the threshold. Repeat the same process with the remaining intermediate panels if needed. Adjust the rollers on the intermediate panels, the same as described for the lead panel. Next, Insert the top of the fixed panel into the outside head track and lower into the threshold. From there, make the final adjustments to the panel rollers to achieve the optimum alignment throughout the door system. If your door has premium hardware, install it at this point. First, adjust the strike plate on the lock jamb by loosening the 2 machine screws and moving it up or down until the lock engages fully when actuated. Once the strike plate is adjusted, anchor it to the jamb using a number 10 2.5-inch flathead screw through the countersunk center hole provided. To remove excessive slack, open the sliding panel and adjust the lock using the screw in the center of the lock. Please refer to your hardware instructions about installing the bump stop. From the exterior, with the door in the fully closed position, reinstall the black foam blocks into the head channels against the small rubber bumper above the panel. Next, seal the bottom of the fixed panel to the threshold on the exterior side. Seal the interior side of the threshold to the floor from jamb to jamb. Continue the sealant up the jamb leg for at least 2 inches. This will complete your sill pan. Proper weatherproofing needs to be completed with sealant applied around the door frame at the head and jambs. Do not seal the exterior of the threshold. The weep holes on the exterior must remain open.